Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Do Bonsai. I'm Scott Winard. This evening we're starting off in the greenhouse area, in the plant room. I've been shopping today and spent my Christmas vouchers at a local store called All Things Bonsai. I'll put a link to All Things Bonsai in the description below. I managed to spoil myself and buy 3 more trees, and I'm just going to spend today's video introducing those trees and letting you know a bit about them before we do any work to them, so you can see how they look when we got them. But before we start that, I just have to overcome a little bit of a problem. It's raining and it's blowing a bit of wind out there, and a little bit of an issue. The door keeps opening. I managed to pull it shut all the time, but it just opens itself. So I've got a catch on the outside which keeps it shut when I'm not in here, but when I am in here, you know, the door manages to swing itself open. So I'm going to overcome that by putting some little cupboard holders in, magnets, and I'm just going to fit them now before we introduce the plants. To fit this in, I'm using my little Hilti pistol drill. Works an absolute treat. So that's worked. It's put a little magnet just in there. It's very cold out here for me anyway. It's not snowing like it is in other places, like over in Canada, where a lot of you guys are. I don't envy that weather at all. I really wouldn't be able to handle that. I know Tom in Chicago's got a good foot of snow or more. He's been shoveling every morning. I'm really glad we haven't got it here. So I'll just line it up in a rough fashion. It's just so it holds closed for me for now. So I've managed to get the top one on, and that seems to be holding it just against the wind for now. But I am having a bit of an issue with the chamfered edge of this timber, so it's probably going to need, you know, a little bit of chiseling out to give it a flat edge, so that when the door closes, it closes onto the flat edge. And given the fact that my fingers are absolutely freezing, I think this is a job for tomorrow morning when it's not dark and blowy and miserable and cold, and I can be more on it. So let's get on with looking at the 3 new trees that we picked up today from All Things Bonsai. So we've got a little magnet in down there just to hold it in at the bottom, and one just in at the top just to hold it in for now, just so that we can get on with what we're doing. And we have a visitor. I think Pete's come in to make sure that everything is happening to his approval. Let's crack on and have a look at these plants. So the first of the new trees is this lovely Pistachio. Now this Pistachio cost me just £40 out of the vouchers that I had, and if I have a look, you get a care guide every time you buy a tree from All Things Bonsai, and they're very, very helpful. So in the introduction to the tree care guide, it says that the tree is native to Asia, the Middle East, Southern Europe, and is a sun-loving small tree growing around 10 meters tall in the wild. It naturally goes in semi-desert areas. In the wild, Pistachio are tolerant of a range of temperatures down to around -10 degrees. In bonsai pots they grow more tender than this and need protection from frost. Growing them outdoors is best. Can also be grown indoors, but it does require a lot of natural direct sunlight, so conservatories and sunny porches would be good locations. A south-facing window is also acceptable, but much more difficult and not recommended. And they recommend keeping the tree outdoors in warmer months and then moving the tree in for winter. Watering does not like to be overwatered. A free draining soil mix will help the tree. However, with all bonsai trees, do not allow the soil to dry out completely. When pruning, the leaves are peripinnate, a bit like native ash and rowan, almost feather-like. This means that what looks like a small branch is actually a single leaf. Look closely and you will see the growth is actually quite coarse, but it works as a bonsai as each leaf appears as a branch. When pruning, you need to understand this. Pruning each leaf back at the first few leaflets will not make them produce new buds on the leaf. A small branch with 2 single leaves. Note that each leaf is not a branch. Each leaf will not sprout new branches if the leaf is cut. When pruning, allow each shoot to grow before pruning back to a couple of new leaves. They recommend feeding these every 20 to 30 days from spring to autumn, possibly with a break in midsummer. Repot every 2 to 3 years. Be gentle not to prune too much roots, and use a free draining soil mix. The tree does not like to be sat in wet, boggy soil. This one is to be repotted in spring 2023. Next we have a ficus. It's got a few leaves up here that aren't doing too well because it was in quite a bit of a cold position, so we will be trimming those off shortly. With it being a tropical tree, the ficus requires a minimum temperature of 10 degrees, therefore can only be kept outdoors in the summer. It's a really good idea to do this if it's possible though, because the fresh air and brighter light gives the tree a real boost. You'll have noticed that from any channel or video that you'll have watched which has got ficus on them. You'll see that during the summer the growth that is shown during the videos is really really good. You can leave it outside and do not need to bring it in at night. Don't worry about rain etc. They do love it as long as they're not sat in water for too long. Of all the bonsai, the indoor bonsai, the ficus is the most tolerant of low levels of light. A bright location is still recommended though. A sunny windowsill is acceptable. Conservatories and sunny porches are also good locations, though watch out for the cold nights in winter if you do place it into one of those types of locations. Some of these windows and conservatories can get really cold during those periods. You could even get like almost down to a freezing temperature at the window, right in at the window. Aim to keep the soil evenly moist when you're watering, like a damp cloth would feel. Water it more in the summer and keep the soil moist in winter, but obviously not wet. When pruning, prune new shoots back to 1 or 2 sets of leaves when it is growing. You can also remove overly large leaves at any time in order to help maintain a sense of scale in a bonsai. If the tree is growing strongly, you can remove more of the biggest leaves in summer to promote the growth of smaller leaves. When feeding, feed every 2 weeks from spring to autumn using a mild fertiliser around NPK 555 or whatever works for yourselves. Obviously it will depend where you are, what climate you're in, and what your own environment is like. Repotting, they recommend repotting these every 2 to 3 years. This tree suggested to be repotted in autumn 2022, so we'll be repotting this tree in autumn this year. We'll get it upstairs into or near the tents with plenty of good light, and it should do well and be ready to come outside in mid to late spring when there's no more frosts about. So the next purchase was a Dawn Redwood cluster, a cluster of 5. They caught my eye, and although they've got a lot of time and development left in them, we do have the large Metasequoia that needs potting this year. I couldn't help but to get a new one and try and develop some younger ones. So the information that I've been given today, if I just get that to you quickly, the Dawn Redwood is an ancient species of tree dating back many millions of years. Thought to be extinct, it was found growing in a small grove in China in the middle of the last century. From those few trees it has been cultivated and is now widespread throughout the world. In the wild it is a strongly growing upright tree capable of reaching great height. As bonsai, they are frequently found in groups such as this one, making use of the strongly upright growth. For a location outdoor only bonsai tree, the delicate fatherly foliage can be burned by strong sun and the wind, so a protected location is recommended. Partial shade works well, especially in summer and on hot windy days. The tree itself is quite frost hardy, so frosty weather does not seem to affect them particularly, though winter protection is still probably a wise idea. Experience of growing Dawn Redwoods has led to treat them like Japanese maples in this regard. When watering, keep soil evenly moist at all times, plenty of water on hot sunny days. A drip tray or bowl will help maintain moisture levels. A deciduous tree which loses its leaves in winter, meaning less water is required. When pruning, the tree naturally wants to form a flame shape, a very fast growing tree which buds back very well. Keep them well pruned for dense growth. Well suited to upright styles or in group plantings. Repotting. Roots grow very quickly and need repotting regularly in spring. Use a general bonsai soil mix. Repot this bonsai in now. My instruction is to repot this bonsai now. So we will be repotting this and the larger Dawn Redwood that I have in the next probably couple of weeks, just before it starts budding out. You don't want to be repotting a Dawn Redwood when they're budding out, so you need to catch them before that. So we're going to probably look to repot this before the end of February. With feeding, fertilise fortnightly throughout the growing season. So we'll be feeding both trees, well, both plantings regularly throughout the spring and summer. So there you go, that's the 3 new trees. We've got them. Quite excited to have them all. The Pistachio's a new one on me. I hope the text that I read out to you makes sense and it came over clearly. Feel free to add any comments and ask me anything to clarify anything, and I'll do my best to respond to you as always. But yeah, we'll look forward to getting some more work done. But for now, obviously, I've been Scott Winard for Let's Do Bonsai. Get out there and make the best of the rest of your day. Be kind to each other, animals and the planet. And as always, I'll see you again in the next one.